I think one of the things that's important is people in a company model the leader. And if the leader of the organization isn't engaged in learning and training, if you go to the coffee pot and the conversation is always about what happened on the sports page, or it's a command or a demand or a status update, you don't encourage people to sort of think about things. So what I try to do sort of with a lot of our folks is ask, find a topic that they should know something about because of what they work on and ask them what they think about it. And if they start to get into the model to know that when we have an encounter and a discussion, and we try to do a lot of that walk around, then I'm going to ask what they think about it or expect them to ask me what I think about something. It changes the conversation, and that's hard to do because chit-chat is easier than having real conversation. But if you can sort of get somebody, and we're a little different, recruitment to retirement for us wouldn't quite work. We've basically, if I can keep somebody 10 years, I'm really lucky because I hire a lot of very young people. But one of the interesting things about very young people is they all believe within about 18 months they're ready for your job. And so what we have to sort of help them understand is that you may be ready for my job, but there are certain experiences I've had that you haven't had. It's not about paying your dues or tenure. It's about gathering experiences. So how do we get them to think more and reflect more so they can form an opinion and articulate it and have a point of view? And so I think it's really important. And I'd say the other thing is put a budget in place for training, even if it's small, because you can really leverage it. It doesn't cost hardly anything to scan an interesting article, circulate it around the office, and have a conversation about it. It doesn't cost anything to buy a box of books and say, take a month to read it, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Those are the kinds of things that create a different kind of learning organization than, oh my God, is he going to ask me if my report's done or not?
Great, great. I so totally concur with both of these points of view. I think one thing I'd like to add is that very often training is thought of something we do to our people, or I call it pixie dust. Come to this thing, we'll throw stuff at you, and something magical is going to happen. But the other aspect, and Steve, you began to describe it a little bit, is it's so interactive. This is how we learn such critical information about what's important in our organizations and how to get better, because through that training process, they're telling you how to give this better customer patient experience, or they're telling us what we need to do better in our stores. They're telling us, different processes. So you're just getting all kinds of information that you can process that gets back to this competitive advantage in solving real business issues. Again, that in some manner, shape, or form does put results on financial statements. And again, I think everything that's been said is so absolutely dead on the competitive advantage aspect of it. And also, even though I think the kinds of budgets that big corporations have, we're always still having to beg and plead and for every dollar there is. And I think, Steve, your point about, just earn your way. Keep demonstrating and keep proving and do what Reggie said, have the courage to kind of get out there and begin to demonstrate these things. And when you get with your people, it's the people and these wonderful ideas that begin to flourish and create energy to organizations that, again, I think is part of what is just so very exciting today and the dynamics of how we work together. Especially over about the past 10 years, have just been extremely exciting, and I think, will continue on in the future.
I think to add one other point, since I agree with everything you said, that within organizations, too, a lot of times we tend to give the employees who've been there the longest the opportunities. It is incumbent that we embrace our younger people, because we have some very talented people that leave our city and get better jobs because we don't embrace them. And I encourage all employees, don't just look at the person sitting there and think because they may not have 15 years of experience, but what they bring in terms of their education, because education today is much different than when a lot of us went to school. And so I, encourage people to really embrace that, because you can use younger people, probably 3 of them that could replace the work of 10 that have come from other generations because of technology and other things. And I think that's really important. And I think also, and it's been mentioned, that it starts at the top. It's up to the leader to see the benefits. And you hear a lot of times, well, we don't want to invest because the employee will leave. And I think you've heard, hint on that. If you invest in an employee, they may stay, but even if they leave, they can become your allies in other places that you do business with. And we always need to think about that because the network is wide and partnerships are key to successful business.
Thank you.
Denise, I want to just add
Please.
one additional thing, and I'm not trying to talk myself out of a job here, but don't hide behind HR as a barrier. Everybody, each and every one of you are leaders, right? So it's not, training and development is not an HR thing. It's a everybody thing. So HR should be the people who kind of guide you, give you some direction, and help you out. But there's lots of people that hide behind HR and say, well, that's HR's thing. They should be coming to us with the training and development. I think we have to use HR as a resource, but the leader and the manager, they're directly responsible for helping that employee's development. And more specifically, the employee should be taking charge of their own development. So that's a barrier I think that we don't talk about. The employee should be coming to you with an individual development plan and saying, Mr. Manager, Ms. Manager, how can you help me really bring this to life? Versus HR or the manager working that development plan. So that's one of the things I wanted to add, because I think that's a barrier.
I do. I just want to echo that. I think we all have a responsibility to own the education of our community. Each of us, and you all have heard me say that over the years, we all know somebody who could use something else, including ourselves, and it's our job to go get it. And with that, I just want to ask, I'm going to go out of order just a little bit because Renee gave me a sign about, how much time do I have, Renee? Yes? Okay, great. So hearing this, I'm going to ask 2 questions of the panel, and then I'm going to do a polling question, and then we'll do audience questions. Is that okay, Renee? Because you know I won't follow the rules.
This is a speed round, right?
Yeah, speed round. Ready?
Okay.
You know, you got that little click, 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 click.
Okay.
So India, the project that you're working on and really investing in the community, what is the economic impact going to be of your investment in people in this way?
I think the long-term investment that we're striving for is, and this is only one model, not the only model, is to really look at the impact of creating jobs in a different way that is giving training to people that builds skill and motivation. And it's creating not only pride in the individual, but pride in the community and motivation in a different way that will enhance not only the skills of that person, but their children and their families. And I think the other piece that I think is really exciting is everything we're doing is around sustainability and green. So we're also creating these businesses to create a new culture in our neighborhood around sustainable natural environment and teaching low-income and minority residents the benefits of what it means to be sustainable in an economy where, you know, there's a lot of waste. And so we're putting them on the cutting edge of a new paradigm, not only to learn new skills, to be part of a different type of business opportunity, but also to be part of the new culture change in America.